Hello, Penn State fans. This is Joe Smeltzer with Nittany Sports Now, and I'm here with one of the most successful athletes in Penn State history. If there's a level of dominance that the word dynasty isn't even strong enough for, Penn State wrestling is at that level. PSU has won 11 national titles in the past 13 seasons, and my guest today was part of the first four of those titles, which were won every year from 2011 to 2014 individually. This guy won two national titles, was a four-time NCAA finalist, and is one of just six to win more than one Dan Hodge Trophy, receiving that honor in 2012 and 2014. After his college career, he remained a vital member of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and put together a decorated freestyle career where he won three world championships, was a four-time world medalist, and of course, won gold at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Now he's retired as an active competitor and is following a similar path of other all-time greats such as his college coach Kel Sanderson, Dan Gable, and John Smith, who he'll be succeeding at Oklahoma State. He was hired by Oklahoma State more than 2 months ago to succeed Smith after Smith retired following more than 3 decades at his alma mater. And Oklahoma State is the most successful program in the country historically, with 34 team national titles, and that's 10 more than the next closest program. This man is looking to lead Oklahoma State back to the top of the college wrestling mountain, where his alma mater currently resides. He's known as the Magic Man. David Taylor, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So it's been more than 2 months since you accepted the head coaching job at Oklahoma State. You've made some noise in the transfer portal, signing Dean Hamady, an All-American who Penn State fans are familiar with from his time at Wisconsin, as well as Caleb Fish from Michigan State and Cam Amin from the University of Michigan. All three guys Penn State fans have watched, and you also have another wrestler committed out of the transfer portal that's on the way. So from a personal standpoint, how would you say you've been adjusting to what's been a pretty drastic change in your life?
Yeah, it's definitely been a big change. I think it's been good. I think that the part that was definitely most challenging was just uh, my being separated from my family for the last couple months. My actually last night my family flew down and now we're all in Stillwater, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, I think it's good. It's just a new challenge. It's a way to compete in a different space, than I did as a competitor, and looking forward to trying to make an impact on these student athletes' lives and hopefully help them with just a vision and a way to you know compete at the best.
Yeah, talking I'm a little away from your career. Obviously, the Rancho was something that was dear to you. How difficult was that specifically to leave behind? And I know you talked at your introductory presser about wanting to get the Highland cattle out to Stillwater. Did they end up making it? And what if so? What was the process of getting them out there?
No, they didn't make it. So we were trying to figure that out, and we ultimately ended up selling them. Actually, there was a local, actually locally to where Benton, where Zane Rutherford's from, someone has like an Airbnb farm experience, and they bought the cows and our chickens, so they'll be part of their experience, which will be pretty awesome. So they're going to get I think, same level of care they had when they were at our house, and they'll make no mistake. They were our buddies. They weren't our cows. Those were like our
Right.
oversized dogs. So that was cool. And then the goat, the three goats and the pig, we actually shipped down here. My mother-in-law drove them down, and they're at a local farmer's here as we're looking to try and get some land and be able to continue with what we were doing at State College.
Yeah, so when you went to State College, initially 15 years ago, and set foot on Penn State's campus, that was another big change in your life. How would you say what you're experiencing now in Stillwater kind of parallels those first 2 months at Penn State when you were moving on from high school and starting your college life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the first big decision that you make in life really is when you're going to college. You're leaving your family, you're leaving your comfort zone, you're going somewhere new, and um, I remember when I was going to college, I remember back then it was like people talked about how hard it was and that wrestling wasn't going to be enjoyable anymore and things to that effect. And obviously over the last 15 years, things were not like that. In state college at Penn State. So I think that was a big challenge. And I think here, I think coming to this job, it's a change again. I think a lot of people talk about college coaching and how it's fulfilling, but I think that it's maybe the enjoyment. It's not something a lot of people enjoy, but I think that it's something that I'm really excited about. I feel like I was kind of built for this job. I think the way that I can hopefully relate to the kids and relate to my successes and failures as a competitor and use that to help these kids, like I said, kind of have hopefully, kind of lay out a blueprint of how they can be successful as well. And I was able to, use wrestling to establish like a career for myself, and to have a long career competing. So, wrestling was, as a competitor and, that time at Penn State was extremely valuable and, molded me to where I am now. And, although change is difficult, but definitely embracing it and looking forward to this new role.
Yeah, so here's a quote I found interesting from your introductory press conference. This was in the breakout session with reporters after the formal press conference ended. Since I was 10 years old, everyone has expected me to be the absolute best. Now you're a first-time Division I head coach. There's people wondering, okay, he was a great wrestler. Can he be a great head coach too? People are also wondering if there's any end in sight to Penn State's dynasty. And Penn State obviously has had such a stranglehold on the college wrestling world for a while now. And even a program as prominent as Oklahoma State is historically, every program feels like an underdog by comparison. So would you say that you're kind of embracing being in a role where that expectation of dominance that you alluded to there isn't as widespread as it was throughout your wrestling career?
I mean, I did think just in life, always just trying to be the best at what I was doing as a competitor. And I think in coaching, I think there's no such thing as trying to be the best coach. I think your mindset changes. You're just trying to be available and trying to how can you help serve your athletes the best. I think that's the biggest change. I think as a competitor, it's obviously a fairly selfish mentality. But as a coach, it's quite the difference. It's it's not about you. It's about how can you help the guys? How can you create the best opportunity? How can you foster the best environment for them to be successful? And in doing that, I mean, we're just going to try and do the best we possibly can. There's the tradition and history at Oklahoma State is, second to none. And, looking forward to the opportunity to, just do the best that we can, and doing so, I mean, yeah, we're definitely competitors, we're competitors and we want to be successful. And we want to surround ourselves with athletes and coaches that have that same mentality. And it's just gotta get a little better every single day.
Yeah, so obviously people talk a lot about the similarities between you and Kale. Obviously, even if you two didn't have the personal connection, you both were four-time state champs in high school, both had legendary college careers, both won Olympic gold in freestyle, and now there's one more similarity in that both of you are going to be college head coaches. So people talk about the similarities so much. What would you say the biggest difference or differences are between David Taylor and Kale Sanderson?
He's a lot better fisherman than I am. No, I think our personalities and demeanors are probably the biggest different thing. I think as from a competitor standpoint, obviously both fiercely competitive. I think the way that we think is similar. But I just think from I've always been a little bit more bold, probably in my personality. Coach Kale is obviously very reserved. I'd say that was probably the biggest difference. But just your personality doesn't always match obviously the way you compete. I think I had a bold personality and competed very very bold, and he had a little bit more of a reserved personality, but competed obviously very bold. So, but when I look back, he shaped a lot of the way that I wrestled, and I took the way that he competed, and that's the way I wanted to compete. And he took that, and that's how he passed on to his team. And obviously, I want to be able to pass on that similar mentality.
So a guy you know well and have been around with NLWC, Nick Lee is now starting his coaching career, joining the staff at Penn State, replacing Jimmy Kennedy, your brother-in-law, who is now with you in Stillwater. So obviously people know about Nick Lee, the competitor. But knowing Nick, what do you see from him that you feel can make him a successful coach? And is he somebody that you think could join the head coaching ranks one day?
Yeah, I don't know what Nick's long-term aspirations are, but in terms of stepping in, he's obviously he's a great choice. He's was a great competitor. We kind of talked about that fierce competitor mentality. That's how he was, and I think a lot of times coaching is about timing. Just timing in your life of when it makes sense. And this timing for me to take this job made a lot of sense in my life, and timing for Nick Lee to be in that job, at this point makes a lot of sense in his life. So yeah, they're in great hands with Nick Lee, and looking forward to the success that he's going to have there.
So you've been around college wrestling for more than a decade and a half now, obviously as a performer, and then being around Penn State still with NLWC. But after your college career ended, you were obviously focusing on your freestyle career and your aspirations. But now that you're in a job that is directly involved with college wrestling, what have been like some of your takeaways as to what you feel could be changed with college wrestling? And is that answer different than it would have been before you took the job at Oklahoma State?
Well, I think when I competed, I wanted to compete and I wanted to score points. I felt like that was the best way you could impact the sport. And I think now, same thing. I just think we want to develop guys here that are going to compete and score points. I think that's what's going to make wrestling the most visible. What's going to make it the most exciting. It's going to put people in the stands. It's what's going to make people follow your program. So it's definitely an easier said than done thing. You just got to find guys with the right mentality that want to compete in everything. And then we got to help develop them with the skills, and then go out and have some fun. But also it'd be fun for the fans to be able to watch another team that has that same mentality of trying to score a lot of points.
All right, so you talked a little bit about this in an earlier interview you did with Flow Wrestling. You mentioned that the Olympics are coming up, and that 86 kg you feel the top two in whatever order are Aaron Brooks, who you know, and Hassan Yazdani, who you also are familiar with. If it ends up being that Yazdani would be Aaron Brooks's number one hurdle to get to an Olympic gold medal, what do you think are going to be the keys for AB to clearing that hurdle and getting that done against the guy who obviously has made his own legacy in freestyle? So
I think for Aaron, he's just going to have to be ready early. Yazdani has obviously um, he wrestles really hard. He wrestles really hard the whole time, and especially early. He comes in pretty hot. So I think gotta be ready early. And he's gonna have to score multiple times. I think and Aaron has those abilities for sure. And those two guys I think are the best two guys in the weight class. Aaron will be randomly drawn in, so you don't know where he's going to be in the bracket. They could wrestle first round, they could wrestle in the finals, semifinals, whatever it may be. So, but Aaron will be very well prepared. Obviously the game plan to compete against Yazdani is very familiar. For him, he was a part of that for a long time, and I know he's excited to compete. It's a great opportunity for him to go and win an Olympic gold medal, and obviously he's very hungry, and looking forward to him going out and competing well.
all right, so something that has been a topic in college wrestling since you took the job at OSU is the possibility of a Penn State, Oklahoma State dual meet / multiple dual meets down the road. That's something I think a lot of college wrestling fans want to see. Is that something that you personally want to make happen, or do you feel that competing against Penn State would be a little weird for you given your ties to that program?
I mean, it would be the most exciting dual meet probably in the history of wrestling. I think, and it's something that would be great to have a continual, home and away, uh, opportunity for both places. I think both fan bases would really enjoy that. And I think the wrestling community would be excited about that. And but I think, obviously being a coach, like you got to work around your conference scheduling, and you can only have so many non-conference opportunities. But obviously, if the opportunity presents itself and that's something that we could work out, I think it'll be really fun.
Right. David Taylor, thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.